Yeah, just be honest, Eric. I thought he was going to score because he normally does, but it didn't happen. In the end, 1-1. A good point for Saints or not, Leon? Is that a missed opportunity?
I think going into the game, I think they would have been happy with a point. There were opportunities to miss it. To get the victory. They missed a couple. It's been the first half. The young fella had an opportunity at the end. But I think it was a much improved performance from the Saints. I think the fans showed that, clapping the team off the field at the end. You know, if they can perform in that manner week after week, then that's what's going to get them out of trouble.
From a coach's point of view, when you're at home like that, albeit Tottenham, the opposition, are you disappointed with just 1 point?
I think because they've dropped into the relegation zone, you're going to want to take all three and get out of it as soon as possible. But I think from the club's point of view and the fans' point of view, they saw their players giving everything they could. And when you're down in that area, that's what you've got to do. You've got to do all the dirty work. You've got to show that the team are together. You've got to do all the running, all the tackling. And Southampton were very much in the game. I think the draw is probably the fair result based on the balance of the game and the chances at both ends. Both teams wanted to win the game. Both teams tried to win the game. But the right result, I think.
Harry Kane, I thought we'd have heard from by now. We haven't yet. There is still chance that we might be able to. But if he's around, he'll be scoring goals. Although Spurs did find themselves a goal behind, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I mean, I thought it was a bit... It was nowhere near the levels we're used to seeing them. They weren't quite at the top. Even there, I think Aurier, he reacts a little late for me in tracking Ryan Bertrand. He sees Bertrand coming from a long, long way back, and I don't think he reacts quick enough as a fullback. I mean, Sissoko can come round and take the ball, but Aurier just waits. I just think he waits too long, and he gives Bertrand a little run on him. You can't do anything about that. He's got to try and take that. He can't allow that to go across goal, I don't think. Doesn't know what's behind him. And Sanchez is a little unlucky.
Yeah, it's in that uncertain gap. Yeah. He's got to try and deal with it. But you're right. I think Aurier is so fast that more often than not, he can give wingers or fullback a head start and know he can catch them up. But I think he was not expecting Bertrand to be that quick early in the game. Wasn't expecting to have that burst of pace. I
just think, you know, if he starts now, backs away now, go. It just gives him a start.
Yeah, agreed. But he is such a lightning quick player. He'd be able to catch 95% of players in the Premier League. But Ryan Bertrand's a quick man himself. And as I said, with it being early in the game, they hadn't had a run at each other. I think he was just caught out a little bit by the speed of him.
I think he may have come out and is ready to talk to us along with Ward-Prowse. Here they both are.
Well done. Thank you.
Yeah, well done. 1-1 Southampton. Here is the equaliser. Harry Kane inevitably got it. We talked about it a lot at half-time.
Does a coach find fault here?
Yeah, I think initially Stevens has got Kane.
He's got him there.
It's good movement from Kane. He goes to go first post. Then second post, and then goes first post again. So he just loses him. But Stevens has to do better there. He's got to stay goal side, got to maintain contact. And then from that position, I think Gabbiadini's also got to do better. But initially, the error comes from Stevens. It's a very good delivery. It's in a very key area where it's difficult to defend. But there's two defenders that I think could do better.
It's fascinating to watch Kane. You're right about the movement, but his focus is entirely on that ball, isn't it? He never takes his eye off it, ever.
Well, you look at other players in the box. Son's had a little bit of movement, but he's the main guy going to attack the ball. He's hoping it drops in the area he's going to, but there was only one winner. You can see it in his eyes. He's losing his man and he's getting on the end of this. His team are behind and he needs to get them back into it. And that seems to be the mindset of the player. It's why he gets the goals and why he's so vital for Spurs.
Just watch the way he puts his left arm on Gabbiadini's shoulder there. Just pins him. You know, he knows he's got to run him. And he just thinks, I'll just pin him here. Goes up early, just drops that shoulder on. So
foul then or not?
No.
VAR?
No. It's just very good centre forward play.
Well, tell us again, the idea of getting up early is what?
That you can do what he does. I've always been taught the earlier you go up, if I'm sitting beside a player and I go up first, he can't then get his arm above me. I'm always bossing it. And that's what, so he goes up early, so he's on top of his shoulder, whereas vice versa. If he goes up on top of Harry's shoulder, Kane can't get up. It was something I taught Graham Sharp to do that very well.
So you made him the player he became?
Goodness me, that goes without saying. But it's just great. It's something that you take for granted here. But it stops Gabbiadini getting up maybe that extra 6 inches where he might have just got a little flick on the ball. Great play from Kane.
And Saints, after that, were knocking at the door once or twice. A young man that we saw come on, a millennial, I think.
Oh, what a chance for glory!
He could have written his name into history here, couldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's the type of opportunity you dream about. He'll have been hoping just for a chance to put his name up in the lights, and that chance came, but he just didn't move his feet quick enough, and then this one falls to Bafali. He's not sure whether to hit it first time or take a touch. He probably takes the touch onto his right foot, which closes off the space, rather than taking it onto his left foot to open the goal up. And the chance was gone. Spurs closed it down quickly.
Have they got enough to get out, Southampton?
Yes, for me, yes. They got a good squad of players. I think they're looking to add a couple. One of their problems has been scoring goals. A lot of the other teams have got a much higher scoring rate than they have, but I think they've got enough good players, and there's worse teams than Southampton in the league.
I think we've got a big 6 weeks coming up between now and the end of February. They play in the next 6 league games they play 4 of the bottom 6. We're down there with them. So 4 of the teams that are around them, they have to play in the next 6 league games. And the other one of the others is Burnley. And Burnley are struggling a little bit for results for that. So they've got 5 massive games coming up between now and the end of February that could totally change the season.
But I agree, but I think the next game is the biggest. I think it's Brighton.
Brighton at home.
Brighton at home. I think they've got a good performance there today. They didn't get the 3 points, but it showed a bit of promise. But I think if they lose to Brighton in that next game, maybe if they don't win at home to Brighton in the next game, with them being in the bottom 3 and the season gone the way it has done, I think there could be questions about his job.
Yes, he could be the next. I mean, Brighton will be right up for that as well. It is. I know their big game is Crystal Palace. That's their derby. But this one on the south coast is another one that they'll want to win themselves.
Well, these are games right now. The bottom. It's ridiculous to say this. The bottom 10 clubs are all in danger of getting relegated.
That's why Watford have sacked their manager, isn't it?
Well, that is why Watford. Watford are 5 points, I think, above relegation. 4 points above relegation now. Now the Saints got a point tonight. I think they're on 22. Watford on 26. I think. So the 4 points above relegation. That's all. I mean, I've never seen it. I don't think I've ever seen it as close as this, with 24 games gone. I've never seen 10 teams, 11 teams actually, with that close to being relegated.
Well, there is that bottom.
Now there you look at that. And the team above West Ham is Watford, who have 26 points. So they're 4 points above relegation. And I think that's why Graham Sharp was saying to us last week, he still felt Everton weren't clear of that as well.
Well, with 28 points, if Watford are involved in it, then they are, aren't they?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to say, but I was hoping that Sam would have pulled us further away than we are at the moment, and performances have slipped back to what they were before he came in. Results have been tough to come by lately as well, and we're just drifting back into that group.
From a team that finished 7th last year and spent big money in the summer,
150 million,
and it's just not worked out. Why?
And don't say Romelu Lukaku. That's too easy to say that, isn't it?
I think bringing in a large number of players at one time doesn't always help. But personally, I think, forget it that we're talking about Lukaku, but Lukaku has been a focal point. Forget his goals. He's been a focal point of the team for so long that the players that were bought over the last 3 or 4 seasons became more defensive, and the centre midfielders, he brought in McCarthy, Gay, Schneiderlin.
Less creative.
They were less creative. They were the type of players that destroy, get the ball forward, and we've got enough up there to get us a goal, where you take the striker away from it, and suddenly we've got 3, 4 centre midfielders and wide midfielders who don't know how to get the ball forward. They don't know how to create things, and suddenly, for me, you're seeing that on the field.
Look, it's easy sitting here. I mean, we could all have solved Swansea's problems before now.
Oh, no, we couldn't, by the way. No, we couldn't. No.
Everybody's got an opinion, haven't they? The guy that's at the sharp end is the one making decisions and finds himself in the firing line. I mean, one of Everton's, again, Lukaku, easy to say. Everybody knew he was leaving, but nobody set about replacing him. Was that the biggest problem?
Well, that was massive to have, as I said, to have played in that ilk for 18 months, 2 seasons of defensive, relying on a striker to hold the ball and to stretch the pitch, knowing that he was going to take a punt on Sandro Ramirez, but again, you're bringing in a young man who's untried, and wait until the last day of the transfer window to try and get Giroud. Oh, that's fell through, and suddenly you've not got a striker going into the season. That's it was a real disaster.
I mean, we touched on this yesterday. It happened the other way for you, didn't it? One of yours actually going to Everton, Sigurdsson.
Late.
But left it far too late then to start going out and finding replacements for them.
Yeah, 2 players. One was Sigurdsson and the other one was Llorente. They end up going very late. Hold your business back with what you'd like to be able to do, and then by the time you get to the very last days of the window, opportunities have gone, and you end up with maybe not the players that you actually wanted first time round, and you're weaker. And I think that's a similar situation to Everton. I think Everton were a really good side last year. In the game that I come up against them, you know, they had a certain style. They kept the ball really well. They were very dangerous at the top of the team, particularly with Lukaku. Barkley was playing at a good level as well. Haven't replaced them.
I mean, I don't want to take you down a line here that's in any way controversial, but that must be so frustrating for a manager. Can you not go to the chairman midway through the last month prior to the window shutting and saying, look, Mr. Chairman, if we're all agreed these 2 players are going, I need 2 in now? Why is it they always wait until it's too late?
Because they're trying to drive the price up of the player. You know, when you start a negotiation, normally one club starts, the club that wants your player starts at a level, and the club that has the player doesn't agree with that. That's the value. So you're some way apart, and then over time what you hope is that the 2 parties come closer together, and that's done as soon as possible from a coach's point of view. The club didn't believe that the valuation of Sigurdsson particularly was at the level they wanted. So there was a standoff for a period that was too long.
We understand, we read 49 million, but they could cost themselves 100 million now because of the delay, couldn't they?
Well, that's the gamble that you take in trying to get the money at that end, and then potentially
and then you're to blame
at the other end.
3 months into the season. You're the guy losing your job.
Exactly. Well, one thing I said, and I knew for sure, was that when the 12th, I think it was the 12th of August, first game of the season, we were playing Southampton. I said that game will not wait for us. You know, we have to be ready. And you know, it's a shame because I think we could have been in a better situation.
I mean, you must have known that Sigurdsson was going one way or the other.
Well,
and Llorente, wherever he ended up, Llorente.
Yeah, I had some very honest conversations with Gylfi. I had a really good relationship with him. Worked for 6 months with him. He was instrumental in the club surviving, but he made it clear that he wanted to have a new challenge at the age he's at, 29 years of age, a good club coming in for him, and he wanted to have that opportunity. So, you know, I tried to persuade him, was unable to do so, respected his decision, but then it was over to the club to do that business.
Chairman, do something about this. We need players, or I need at least replacements now. And do you think that's what happened to Goodison?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're holding on to do deals like obviously the Sigurdsson deal to Everton, and you're missing out on players. I was saying to Paul yesterday, I think if I was in the Everton setup at the time, I know Llorente was wanting to go to Spurs or Chelsea, but I think I would have gone to Swansea and said, well, we'll overpay for Sigurdsson if we can get Llorente as well, because Everton needed a striker, needed to get somebody in. If you get 2 in that know how each other play, suddenly they can hit the ground running. So from an Everton point of view, as I said, to have passed on or not gone for strikers that potentially could have got, and go into a season without a recognised striker was frightening.
Well, the outcome was almost inevitable, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily. I think missing Lukaku was massive. I do think that about Everton, but I don't think that the drop should have been as dramatic as it was.
Yeah,
you know, to go from top
yeah.
7 to bottom 3, which we were at one time, if I'm not mistaken, in the season, sitting in the bottom 3 of the now that's too big a drop for me. You know, just to blame it on we haven't replaced Lukaku. You know, we brought in a young, exciting goalkeeper. So, allegedly one of the best young centre-backs in the country that most would have taken, and we brought in Gylfi Sigurdsson for 50 million. I mean, that to me looks like you're strengthening your squad, not the rest of it, not depleting it. So I don't know what went wrong. I have no idea what went
Only
wrong.
one conclusion to make.
What?
Players down tools. Play the damn
You can see that. Player power.
Chance late on for Harry Kane. Really big chance late on for Harry Kane, which came and went. I think most of us thought he was going to score here, didn't we?
Well, the way he's going. Yeah, because he shifts it nice.
And they move it from one side of the pitch to the other really well. I mean, it's a tight angle, but you'd expect him to hit the target from that position, and then from there, possibly a parry from the goalkeeper off a defender's leg, or the tackle Lamella's coming in late there.
I think Ryan Bertrand did very well there. As the ball's come across, he knew any kind of touch he got on it was going to be an own goal. He just got his body in between him and the Spurs striker, and hoped that no one was getting on it behind him, but that was good defending.
Here is the Tottenham manager, Maurizio Pochettino.
As always, thank you.
When asked about the Real Madrid job, his answer was, football will take me where football wants me to go.
Real Madrid, I think, is where football's going to take him then, isn't it?
Maybe, but right now...